I'll answer your question with a question. And here's the question. Actually, here's not the question. Let's wait a minute for the question. We'll start with the reason for the question, which may of course be the question underlying all questions. Anyway, if you have the time to do it, here's my request. Please listen to the question, think about the question, and give your answer to the question in the comments section below the video. Then, here's the thing, you're not quite done. The other thing I'd like you to do is look through the comments, find somebody else's answer to the question, an answer that you like or agree with, and reply to it in a way that doesn't refute the answer, but adds something to it. We're taking the yes and approach to improvisatory inquisitiveness here. If somebody else already answered your answer of choice, answer the answer to the question of the question. See what I'm getting at? We're looking here for engagement not just with the question posed, but also with each other. With luck and thoughtfulness, that's where we may find the real answers emerging. Okay, let's get out of the explanatarium. Here is the question. Is music fiction? Take a minute to think about it. Now, with that done, and knowing that I have to film this patch and release this video before I see all your answers, I'm also going to answer this question with a question. Are filter pings oscillations? They're certainly sonic events because we can hear them. Perhaps we can make them into oscillations by resynthesizing them in the spectrophone. Let's try that out and see where it takes us. These cycling maths channels are set up to output minimal length gates from the EOR and EOC outputs. The reason for that is that when you hit the QPOS's input with a wider gate, it will ping on both gate on and gate off. A short trigger sort of tricks it into thinking it's just a single, more emphatic event. So for channel 1, that means shorter fall time, and for channel 4, that means shorter rise time. Now we'll send these two triggers to the two inputs of QPOS. Instead of using it in stereo, we're just going to think of it as two pairs of pinged filters. We've got the two bandpass outputs mixed in the top channel of XPAN. Now, let's actually molt these filter outputs prior to the XPAN. And then we'll also send them to the two signal inputs of Spectrophone. Both sides are in SAM, spectral amplitude modulation, and we'll mix the two odd outputs together in the top channel of XPAN. Hear how as the filter frequency goes up, the harmonic content of the spectrophone also goes up. One thing I'd like to do is take these two completely unrelated clock rates we're getting from the cycling maths channels and do something to start to tie them together. We'll take attenuated outputs from each channel and patch across to the opposing channels both input. This will help turn it from two soloists into a duo. Now let's add a little panning to these two XPAN channels. I'm thinking we'll slowly pan them in opposite directions. this slow cycling maths channel, invert its unity output, and then setting its channel output positive. We'll send the two resulting CVs to the two pan inputs of XPan and set the panel controls accordingly. While we're at it, let's also mult the end of cycle gate. To the X clock of Renee, as well as to the clock input of the mimeophone. Mimeophone is pretty good at dynamically switching up its clock rate, even when the clock rate changes without a lot of slipping and sliding. Let's patch the Cartesian CV to modulate its rate. That'll create a bit of a pile of sub-rhythms for us. Let's also add a bit of a loopy percussive element. Take the side B sub-oscillator, attenuate it in the maths, send it on to the channel of DXG, which will open with the Cartesian gates. Turn the control parameter up high enough with hitting the triggers, it tends to damp the ringing a bit. I guess it's time to sequence the tones too. Here comes XCV. We can patch it to any combination we like of the 2 volt per octave inputs on the Spectrophone. And the frequency 2 input on of course, is to what degree do we want the pre-synthesized and resynthesized sounds to align in overall pitch. We can, of course, also use the follow button on side B as a shortcut. There are plenty more parameters worth modulating. Let's modulate the mimeophone a bit.